I'm Laura Stewart, Impact 100 Indian River County Board member, and I am here today with Michael Naffziger from Indian River Charter High School, and he's going to share with us how people have changed and benefited as a result of the $100,000 grant that they received from Impact 100. Michael, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I think the first thing I'll do is I'll just talk about the three pieces of equipment, I guess is the best way to say it, or the three products that we purchased using the Impact 100 money.
Right.
And those were a portable stage, they were drop down and protective sides for our outdoor performing art venue, and they were high-end projectors. Now for somebody that's not in the performing arts, that probably doesn't sound like a really great thing. Like what exactly does that do for a community, for a school, for our students?
Yeah, how does it change lives?
Right, yeah. How does drop down sides on a dome change lives, and how do projectors change lives? So I think the best thing I can do is just tell one story about each of the items and what it has done. And I'll start with the projectors. With the Impact 100 money, Impact 100 grant money, we bought two high-end projectors, and they're bright enough that they can be seen outdoors, they can be seen indoors, and that you can project gigantic on walls. And in this case, we projected on a floor. And what I mean by that is on a floor from the ceiling down. And the reason we did that is we did a play called The Great Gatsby. And The Great Gatsby, as you may know from the novel, takes place in 7 or 8 different locations. The story does. Well, we didn't have the space because we have a black box theater, it's a very small venue, or the resources to build multiple sets. So we had students design projections on the floor. So if Gatsby was in his garden, the garden would grow out from his feet onto the floor, or if he was in his parlor, the parlor would then come out from underneath him. And so we used this high-end projector to change the sets on the floor and on the wall behind him. Now that might be, yeah, that's really neat, but how did that impact the kids besides something really cool? Well, Florida Thespians, which is the largest high school theater organization in the world, they have a festival, the largest high school theater festival in the world, called the Florida Thespian State Festival, and that's in Tampa. And every year they pick a school to be the performer at that evening at the festival for the whole community of all the high schools across the state of Florida. 10,000 high school kids go to this event. And out of all of the schools, they picked us in our production of The Great Gatsby. Wow. Which would have never have happened if we didn't have these projectors. So these kids from this small town of Vero Beach going up against these huge performing arts schools beat and won and got to perform in a professional venue at the Straz Center for the Arts, which is in Tampa. And that was a huge component of it because a lot of our adjudicators, our judges, said that one of the most fascinating things was the projection that was used to change the scenery as opposed to trying to lug in all these different things needed for the story of The Great Gatsby. So about 50 kids that never performed on a professional stage because of those instruments then got to travel across the state and perform for 10,000 kids The Great Gatsby, and using those projectors is a huge component of it, which is pretty awesome.
That is, and I would think that the kids who are programming the projectors are learning other skills, that it's not just about acting, it's about all those other pieces.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the kids know them better and are better with them than I am. So I say I need this, this, and this done. They can do it so much quicker nowadays than I ever could.
Okay.
And so yeah, they designed the programs, they ran the projection, they ran the lights, they run the sound, they run everything. And so not only are the actors getting that experience in a professional venue, but then my technical theater side, which is called Stagecraft at our school, was then had the opportunity to do that as well, to work in a professional theater in a professional venue, which is priceless. I mean, they learned more in that 3 or 4 days that we were over there than any classroom that I could teach them. And again, that's a huge component of it, was using those projectors in order to set that up and create that type of atmosphere. The next thing I'll talk about is our drop-down sides. Basically, excuse me, what we have at the high school is we have a big rectangle of classrooms, and that's where the majority of the performing arts schools are in. In the middle of that rectangle, we used to have a big open dirt patch. And there was a little bit of concrete in the middle of it, but mostly it was open. And at one point, we finally got some money, we built a dome over top of it, and we said, well, we'll start performing outside now. And everybody was very excited to have the chance to perform in this big venue because it seats 300 people and everyone was excited. So I remember our first big production in there was a musical, and our school's musical, this musical had 176 kids participating in it.
That's a lot of kids.
It's a lot, between all the dancers, the musicians, the actors, everything like that. Well, of course, the second night of the performance, we got a Florida storm, and moving from Los Angeles, I'd ever experienced a Florida storm where the rain comes sideways. You know, it doesn't come down like this. At times it comes in like this. Well, we built this dome with these open sides, and these kids had worked so hard, and all the technicians had worked so hard, and the teachers had worked so hard to start off with this huge musical. It was Alice in Wonderland. And the second night, the Florida sideways rain came in. We had to cancel a performance. And then I noticed as we kept performing, we kept doing other things. Like the orchestra would be in the middle of a concert, and I mean, you cannot get a drop of rain on a violin or it's done. And so any hint of rain, any possibility, we would just have to stop the performance. And some of these performances, it was only a one-night type of thing, and so these kids would prepare for months, and then you get there and it would be ruined or postponed or whatever it might be. And also too, like dancers, we put out a dance floor in the middle of the dome. Well, you can't dance on a wet dance floor. These the ballerinas, especially on point, I mean, they can go down and really injure themselves. And so when we thought about the Impact 100 grant, we said, what can we do in order to improve this performance venue? And that was install these protective sides. And basically all they are motorized drop-down sides, and when we do a performance, they come down all the way around the dome, stopping the rain from coming into the venue. But this venue isn't just used for performances. We do a very special arts day where the special needs kids from the Wabasso school come, and we use the venue for that. We use it for orientations. We use it for, it's available for the public to use as well if they ever wanted to use the space. Okay. And so it's not only impacting our kids, but it's impacting the community as well. And these drop-down sides with the money provided from the grant have just given us so many more opportunities because we don't have to worry about the weather or other conditions that we had to really panic about before.
And a scenario of maybe making a bigger indoor theater really wasn't an option for you guys.
Right,
so this
correct.
is a way to use existing space and bring in other elements or stop other elements from interfering with it.
Sure, and it really has created a very original venue. I mean, people come into the space for their first time, and the show's about to start, and all of a sudden you hear the sound, and all the walls of the whole space close in around you, and then you see this beautiful production happening in front of you, and you can still feel breezes coming through it, and you're still outdoors. And it's a very, very original venue. I mean, I've directed all over the United States, and this is by far and away in my top 3 favorite places to direct. Just because it's so different and original, especially when you have very traditional theater spaces in a community or performance spaces in a community. This is a very non-traditional space, and the money from Impact 100 just improved it so many-fold. And that leads into the last thing, which is the portable stage. Our kids were at one point performing on the concrete floor, dancing on the floor, rolling out the instruments on the concrete floor. Everything was happening on the floor. The sight lines were bad because if you're sitting in the audience and they're performing at the same level you are, it just wasn't working out. And we have, amazing performers. We have award-winning ballet dancers and musicians and actors, and people would come to these performances, and the kids again would invest so much time into it that it just wouldn't have the experience because they couldn't see half of the things. You'd see all the parents doing this and that. So then we bought, with the Impact 100, we bought a portable stage which sits 32 inches off the ground. It clips together. The students build it, take it apart, so it's all student run again. But this now enables the participants the performers to be up at above the eye level so that the audience can see them and enjoy them that much more.
So it creates a more realistic environment that these kids would encounter if they were anywhere else in the country professionally performing.
Correct.
So if you hadn't gotten the grant, how would life be different there?
Well, we would still be battling the struggles of weather. These kids would have to be, we'd have to lay down piles of towels so when the dancers, when they would come into the space, would be able to dry their feet because the rain would be leaking into the space. I mean, there's countless things that the weather protectors have allowed us to do in terms of performance. The projectors have again just given us the opportunity to do cutting edge things and have the kids experience things they never would before. And then the portable stage is just giving the kids a place to actually perform on. And the portable stage units as well as the projectors are used throughout the community. We do a lot of volunteering in the community, and if we're going to take something, a performance to a school or whatever, we'll take a few of the units with us, or we'll take the projectors with us and use those to help add to the performance that we're doing out in the community. So all in all, the impact that the grant had is just giving really, really dedicated and amazing kids the opportunities to perform in a way that they never would have had if it wasn't for the grant.
That's so great. And you know, the performances are truly exceptional. I've not had an opportunity to get there yet, but I know a lot of people have, and they just keep raving about the work you guys are doing over at the school.
Good, I appreciate it.
Any last thoughts you'd like to share with our members and prospective members about the power of the grants?
I'll tell you what, it was one of those surreal feelings when I knew that I was a part, and there was a team of us, there was about 5 of us working on getting the grant and applying for the process of it. And I'll tell you what, the people that worked with us on the side of the impact grant were just so helpful and so willing to offer us advice in terms of, I don't know what to do on this document, well, this is how you complete it, and all of those things, and just very, very helpful. But I remember the day that we received the grant, it was surreal. It took about 3 or 4 days to set in that we actually were able to bring that much money to our school. As a charter school, we receive about a third per capita funding that a regular public school gets.
Okay.
So if a regular kid gets $1,000 per student, the school gets $1,000 per student in order to help pay for the facilities, the books, the upkeep. Our kids get about $300. And that amount and so our facilities were just really needing updated. And so the money from that grant just really helped us do that. And to have those kids that are just as important as any other kids that go to any other school now have some really great resources that they can be proud of is awesome. And knowing that I, along with other people, were a part of that is just one of the best feelings out there, especially as a teacher, because all you want to do is see your kids succeed.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the tools or the resources, it can be very frustrating. So with Impact 100, we were given that boost that we needed to say, no, look, you guys deserve this. Here's the equipment you guys need in order to perform your art and to be successful. And they're very, very appreciative of it. So we're very thankful for Impact 100.
And I love how passionate you are about it. So thank you for sharing.
Sure, of course.
Today. We
of
really
course.
appreciate your being here.
Of course, thanks for having me.